Hello, it's Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. How are you doing? Well, don't everybody answer at once. No, seriously, how are you doing right now? This week, I've decided to take my video thoughts for the day and try to speak of something that might make you and I do better. But do it from passages that are outside of the mainstream of what we normally look at. There are passages that are just in the normal coming and going of our lives that we tend to turn to when we've got questions or issues or when times are tough. But the Bible is laden in its 66 books with tons of things that oftentimes are outside of our normative, if you will. And that's what we're looking at this week. And this morning, and probably for tomorrow and maybe even the next day, I'm going to be looking at a book that's just thickly laden with fantastic, tasteful, precise moments for us to glean and be enriched. The book's from the Old Testament. And it's a book that we don't turn to that often, though the New Testament writers did. I'll give you a hint. It may be the most frequently quoted book, probably maybe Psalms is, but outside of Psalms at least, in the New Testament. There are over 50 New Testament allusions or references back, echoes, to this book. Now the book is placed in a group of Old Testament books that show how we don't often turn to them so much. It's called a minor prophet. You've got your major prophets, Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah. Then you got these minor prophets, and not because they're not important, but because they wrote such a smaller amount perhaps than the majors. But one of those minor prophets is Zechariah. Now Zechariah, the name of the prophet himself, is rooted on two Hebrew words, Zachar, which means remember, and Yah, which is a reference to the Lord, to Yahweh. Zechariah means by his very name, God remembers. And it's a book written to the people at a time they needed to hear that message. See, Israel had been taken off into captivity. Judah, the southern tribes of what we call Israel, had been captured by the Babylonians. Babylonians had been captured by the Persians. And by the time Zechariah starts prophesying, about 520 years before the birth of Jesus, the people are in just a dismal, down mood. If I had asked them, how are you doing? They would have said, not good. They'd been allowed to return to Jerusalem. They got a good kickstart on rebuilding the temple, but that had stagnated and gone nowhere. Jerusalem itself was still haunted, empty, desolate streets by and large. And then the people that were there, the king at the time, the Persian king Darius, was about to wage war against Egypt, so he just jacked up the taxes. So they don't have a comfortable life. They don't have a comfortable homeland. They don't have a safe homeland. They're insecure. The burden of the economy is weighing on them heavily. And in the midst of that comes Zechariah to prophesy. And his name means God remembers. And in this desolate time, with desolate cities, with high taxation, with desolate economic resources, Zechariah comes and he tells people, my cities shall again overflow with prosperity, and the Lord will again comfort Zion. God has not forgotten. We do not serve a forgetting God. He remembers who his people are. And yes, we go through times that remind us how terrible this world can be. That this is not our utopia. This is not God's paradise for us. This is the world of struggle and war. But we need never forget that God remembers. Now, I want to talk to you about Zechariah again tomorrow. So fasten your seatbelt. But between now and then, remember, we don't serve a God who forgot you. We serve a God who remembers you and will not leave you barren. And that's your video thought for the day.